of development.
So what do you think the answer should be? Do you think it should be Syria, pure 100% Syria, self-determination for Syria? Should we make Syria great again by the Syrians for the Syrians?
Syria great again?
Yeah, no, of course. Well, Syria has home of some fantastic great things in sport.
In my opinion, I think, because I'm not for war, you know, and even if there is
So you're
a tyrant
neoliberal
that
pacifist,
is
or?
in power, right? Even though that this tyrant might kill a couple of people, like let's say 100 or 10 people per month, if he is in power, in a stable regime, right? I would prefer that to happen rather than a civil war, because we can see, like for example, with Gaddafi in Libya,
That was ridiculous.
he was
Professional.
he was a horrible ruler, right?
All
okay,
sides
no
were
problem.
assholes in Libya.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
He
All
was a
sides.
horrible ruler.
Even my beloved CIA were assholes.
Huge asshole. They allowed the Muslim Brotherhood to come into Syria.
Is that what happened?
I'll explain.
So I'm asking, is that what happened? But I don't know.
Well, according to some reports, the CIA actually made the trip of some Muslim Brotherhood members into Syria prior to the revolution a lot easier. So they went from Turkey, and Turkey is a hub of the Muslim Brotherhood, you know what I mean, because of the rise of Islamic politics. And they went into Syria, right? They went into Syria, and if you look at the records, the protests always happened after Friday, or on a Friday. And what happens on a Friday? Salat al-Jum'ah, Friday prayers, right?
Absolutely.
So an imam comes up on the minbar, right, or on the pulpit.
Shall I
and
give
he
you a
gives them
tragedy?
over
Shall I give you a
political-
tragedy from the other side?
Tell me the strategy.
The tragedy from the other side. You'll enjoy this. The tragedy from the other side. Do you know what the most segregated hour in the United States is?
Segregated?
Hour of the day in the United States. Church time on a Sunday, where white and black people, out of pure self-association, go to separate churches, but both claim they're Christians.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, that is a huge problem.
Look at it that way.
It's utter sadness of both these people saying the grace of God,
there's always a
and they choose segregation.
Not to move away like from the topic, right? These imams would give overtly political sermons, right? And they would tell the people, this guy is a tyrant. Bashar al-Assad is a tyrant. Go and revolt against him.
They are militant Islamic military industrial jihadis using communication.
We're going to go down with all the others on the grass bit. You come in or...
Yeah, I'll come join you. I'm just in the middle of this thingy. I will join. I should just take the time. Go away. Okay, let's say.
So basically,
Yeah, of course.
So basically,
Yeah.
they would rally people up, incite that anger, and there's of course pre-existing grievances that they tap into.
But now you see,
right?
where's that war? That war is in cyberspace. It's the hearts and minds of young Muslims on the internet and social media. So same
in
with
a
the
lot
other
of different
side.
places.
Yeah, being pushed. This political message is not slow anymore. It's not like school, SOAS, down. I read the papers, I read books, I started building up my critical history. It's what I saw on Instagram. What was the place?
Yeah.
And far-right radical Islam. I mean, it's admirable. They're pretty good at it.
They can manipulate the internet
they're
very, very
brilliant.
well.
No, they're brilliant at it. No, young Muslim
That's a
mind.
way in which that they can get a lot of recruits. You get what I
Young
mean?
Muslim mind.
Yeah. But you know, if we move back to the topic about Syria and what's
So what would the
what's
answer for
happening
Syria
there,
to be? What would you
and
think
all of
would
the
be
variables.
good? What would you think would be good for Syria? Are you looking to find what happened that got us here, or what?
Yeah,
should
what
go
happened?
forward?
Because look, if we ever want to create a solution as to what things should be, we should know what things work. Do you get what I mean?
You can see it's
How
a causal
things work.
chain. It's a causal chain it was a byproduct of what happened in Iraq. That's
Because
clear.
you know, in 1982 there was the Hamma massacre, wherein 10,000 people were killed by Hafez al-Assad because the city was known to be a hub of the Muslim Brotherhood. And so the Muslim Brotherhood, that event that happened around 30, 40 years ago, it still has a huge role to play in what's going on
within the
today.
two generations,
It's related to the grievances that the Muslim Brotherhood have to incite all of
So
the
that's a good
violence
point,
that has
because it
happened
takes
in
3
Syria.
to 4 generations psychologically to remove a meme from the space.
Yeah.
So for example, you don't know your great-grandparents' names.
I do.
You do? Okay. But that would be very uncommon.
Of course, like in the Arab world, you have to
You probably do. Okay.
kind of
Oh yeah, of course you do. And majority of people wouldn't. So the programming of the message flows to a generation. Now we have this accelerated thing.
Yeah.
And what are the forces in Syria? I'm not an expert in Syria. You've had internal Syrian forces, you've had external national forces, proxies across its neighbors, and now you've had a consequence of a massive global narrative overarching the side narratives which Syria is embedded in. Syria's story is embedded in the regional narrative, in global narrative, and Syria is a consequence
And there are
of having
always
its
a number
neighbours.
of narratives. You know, there are people that are still pro-Assad.
The primary one is
Pro-Assad,
Western foreign
right?
policy. It's called Syria.
Could you repeat that? Sorry?
Western foreign policy is the single causal factor for Syria.
There was never a single causal factor. That's the
I
thing.
mean, the one that I would give the most weight to. There's never one factor.
The most weight, I believe,
Yeah, because America.
in my humble opinion, it's always the grievances. You know what I mean? Because you're not gonna rally people up like the people who are contributing to the fighters, to the freedom fighters, to the terrorist group. They wouldn't ever join the terrorist group had they not had any grievances. Had
There's
they
an old
not
saying
had
you
an
like.
economic necessity.
There's an old saying you like. You've never seen a well-fed, fat, middle-aged man with a happy family become a terrorist.
Yep.
Right?
That's very true.
In any culture, right?
Maybe
If he says,
he'll
"No, he has
fund
no
the terrorists to get
grievances."
some money out of it, right?
No, but he has no grievances.
Yeah, he has no
And he has an
grievances.
investment in life, right?
Exactly. It's like a lot of the terrorists that came out after the Iraqi invasion. I mean the US invasion of Iraq, right? There were a lot of groups from the western provinces who were majoritively Sunni, right? Who decided to join groups like Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, Jabhat al-Muqawama, right? Terrorist groups in order to go against America for taking them out of their jobs, right? Because when America came, they underwent this process of de-Baathification,
Yeah,
wherein they
yeah.
fired
Yeah, they stripped the
most,
regime, the
most
institutions.
of the Sunnis that were in state positions, and they gave those positions to Shia and Kurds. So it creates this grievance within people.
So what? But this is going to happen because I think Islam is facing what Christianity is facing a very intense form. After at least up until around the sack of Rome, it's when you have a conflict between three forces. Abstract ideas like nationhood, theological ideas like belonging, and tribal ideas. And you clash them. There must be a model that falls out that maintains peace. So my wife is German. 40% of the German gene pool was killed by other Germans in the 30-year war. 40% of Germans annihilated themselves to prove that they could be a nation state. So the 30-year war created nationalism, but the Germans smashing themselves against the empire, and they've got hell. Self-determination is the cardinal concept. Now I'm very far right. So liberty and self-determination are no interest to me.
I don't place,
Unless they be managed. Unless they be managed from above, right?
I personally don't place myself in any part of the spectrum. I think that both sides have their benefits, have their shortcomings, right? But I don't hate, but I dislike when someone is extremely right or extremely left wing. So you're saying that you're extremely right wing.
I'm actually almost saying I couldn't stress how almost at the intellectual axiomatic level I'm top right.
Okay.
So in the political terms, I look at fascism, monarchism, and national conservatism as being sellouts and left-wing ideas.
Okay, so,
I believe
so
in
let's
the
move this.
Christian Empire.
So let's move this into something that you're more well versed in, right? So
If you talk about
in the-
Islam in the West, that would get all of them. They'd not bad. now that we settled it by that. Islam in the West, but they're all going to go.
Okay.
No, I mean, that's
Let's
what
talk
they're
about
like.
Islam in the West.
If you want. Well, I'm fine.
Hey, look, if you're well versed in it, let's do it.
I don't know, it's just like it's a topic everyone thinks it's
Okay. So what do you think about
Because I can
Muslim
give you a
migration
far-right position
into the West?
Right, very well.
Muslim migration into the West? What do you think?
So
What are the benefits? What are the shortcomings?
So the last 20, 25 years, about 20, 25 years ago, there was a massive shift in right-wing thinking. The right-wing thinking at the edge of the Buchanan days, the edge of the paleocons. We saw the intervention wars about 4 or 5 years before. So I was at Stanford, finished my research there, 4 years before 9/11, and we saw that the imperial capitalistic neoliberal structure had sold out its Christian own, and it went to war in the Middle East, and we in the right were disgusted.
We in the right were disgusted?
Correct.
Okay.
We were against the Bush and Cody wars. They were done for capitalism, self-serving, political, self-announcing. There was nothing moral. There was no false in it. There was no dean in it. These creatures had made these things.
And
so
from
we in the
this-
right, we're being very technical. We're building the internet, right? So we just can't come to Cambridge here, we're going Massachusetts. We talked about, we were mainly geeks and philosophers. We started thinking, how would we permeate the incoming digital space we see with the new narrative. That new narrative has resulted in Trump, resulted in Brexit. These are downstream from our meta-political narrative.
And you,
Right? Okay. So now in our framing of the world, right, we say, right, what is happening? And we start with data, the geeks. We say we're 10 billion chimps. We stabilize at about 10 billion chimps in 2050, and we plateau. For the birth rate convergences, India stabilizing. What does the world look like at steady state? 55% of the board is India and China, to the strongest hetero states. India, hands down, the most racist nation in the country by any Pew Research metric at any time from 1960. India's number one. No one, Indian boys just don't want to.
racially, are you from India?
My father's South Indian, my mother's English. Indians are like, yeah, they love me and stuff, but you're not one of them.
I heard
so
the
immigration's
story
not a hot topic in
I
India.
don't want to interrupt you, but I heard the story of an Indian who just got his British passport, right? He went onto a British Airways plane and he asked the flight attendant, where's the British only toilets?
Right. But there's a whole post-colonial narrative, and so much like that. But you look at that final state board, what's the rest of the world look like? Islam's heading up to saturated 2 billion. Black Africa going to 2 billion. Whitey's only got 850 million left in the world's steady states. The economic GDP distribution says the US slides down from China, India bubbles up, and the East end up with about 35-40% of world capital. No immigration, no integration. Chinese and Indians, you kalu-falu. It's all this conversation. You're not coming in.
So do you think?
Right. So the West's problem with the narrative is the conservatives and liberals are at a postmodern war. But since the end of 60s, liberalism, we had modernism, got postmodernism, and this is the zeitgeist and speaker's corner of what the West will become unless we shift that narrative. So from that downstream, Steve Bannon and everything, we created 3 intellectual narratives.
So do you think the narratives have a huge part to play in?
We are driving
the way
everything
which the
in our
society
memes, from our
integrates?
words, from our policies, and the same structure that to defend the West is the top narrative. To defend the first world of the West, which also means defending whites, we're not exclusively whites, it's in this first world. We have a responsibility to let the rest of the world grow and follow us upwards and defend ourselves from 3 threats.
What are these 3 threats?
Immigration, integration, Islamization.
Islamization.
Yes.
Okay, so you think? Okay. We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. Okay.
So I'm going to
okay.
frame it for you nicely
We're
because
getting
you're so
somewhere.
us, boy.
Okay, so-
in that meta-narrative, here comes
So you
Islam.
think one of
So
the
not
biggest-
just Islam, but it's a component of that.
Okay, so you're thinking that one of the biggest threats to Western society today, if there is such a thing as Western
Yes.
society,
Yes.
right, is immigration and Islamization.
3 of them. Immigration, integration, and Islamization.
Okay. So okay. So what I'm guessing right now is that you're saying that immigration is bad because then Muslims will come and they can't integrate within
Sub-Saharan
society.
blacks, Sub-Saharan blacks, no, Chinese people, it doesn't matter. Right? So look at the UK. Historically, it was almost
So you think
always
that they're
white.
not malleable, right?
It's almost white. I can apply this to any country. Almost all white to the liberal experiment. Then steady state immigration, Enoch Powell. Then globalization, 1890s. Label in the door, conservatives and shutters. And we have Speaker's Corner.
We have Speaker's Corner. Okay.
Now, our meta-narrative
Think
to our
about it
voters,
from
here's
this
what we tell our voters. Do you want England to be this? Do you want Germany to be this? Because we didn't vote for that density, we see what that density creates. Islam's a problem there.
Keep into consideration, right? That even though you think that Islam is a sort of problem, right?
Yeah, it is.
Look at me. I'm Muslim. I'm debating you.
I'm a
right?
Christian. I love every Muslim. I have to by
of course,
Christ.
I'm contributing. I am as a Muslim, and a lot of other Arab Muslims, particularly from the Gulf, contributing to the
I would
economic
stop by agreeing
prosperity
with you by saying,
of the United Nations.
I would stop by agreeing with the
Of the
Nasser
United
fallacy. I would start straight by saying, not all Muslims are one, and I accept the Nasser fallacy. I would
Okay.
treat the group as an individual.
Okay, so which Muslims would you and
So what
if
we did
you're
is,
saying that
so
all
what we
not
did in the
all-
2000s,
okay.
yeah.
First of all, which Muslims are the ones that are creating these problems that you're afraid of, and to what extent is Islam a causal variable in the way in which they act across their
Big
protocols?
questions. We can answer this. So we started without it being personal, because we came from neo-reactionary right as geeks, elite geeks. We reverse engineered Islam.
You reverse engineered
Yes.
Islam.
So-
How is that possible?
So in our model that I told you, we look at the world as situated game theory model. We got, okay, economic forces, tribal forces, rational forces. Islam is has gone aboard. What does Islam look like? We admire it. It's a three-legged, neo-crypto bashing, theonomical powerhouse. There's three axes. One is theist, right? Same model as ours. I believe in the word of Allah and the will of God, and I believe and I surrender myself to Allah, and that's the end of it. The second axis has a set of very rich, sophisticated cultural practices, from the clothes to the wearing to the eating to that. And the third way, it has a well-engineered, very well-engineered, fluid political structure. From everything from Zakat, put together as an agent of the game. It is imperial in its technical classification. It's an imperial force.
So you see
without
that,
mentioning Muslim.
All right.
Not mentioning Muslim, just mentioning Islam. Right?
Okay, so you think that because that is the way that Islam is constructed,
When you
you
break
think-
down
Admire
the
it and fucking good stuff. I want to copy it.
because you think that's the way in which Islam is constructed, if you put enough people that label themselves as Muslims into a certain society within the West,
Identity.
it would create instability. That's what you're saying.
No, that's what we measure it to be.
What was your second point?
That's what you measure.
What was your second point?
Right?
The first one we all agree, La ilaha illallah. But his second point is valid.
He's making-
It's a cultural right.
Oh, you mean the model of Islam? Is that what you mean, the second
It's
leg?
your model.
You have to keep into.
No, for us, it's computer science-based modeling.
It's a what?
We can model in game theory anything. I can model a car
But
game.
reality.
So we can model. We can model Islam as a mathematical concept.
So your the second point is cultural. So what's our culture?
So culture would be in the likeness of the Prophet Muhammad, wearing a burqa, niqab, having
But
like
there's disagreement about that. But
not just disagreement. You have scholarly work, well-engineered,
But
well-supported
there's so much-
engines of
but
imperialism.
there's so much disagreement
same
about
time-
that.
Criticism and observation.
But we
But
don't
at the
agree.
same
There's people
we
that
don't
say-
necessarily
No,
agree
of
with
course we
that
don't.
because Islam is not necessarily an expansive force, right? It can in Islamic literature, if you look at it, there are a vast majority of scholars that tend to maintain what they already have rather than want Islam to expand.
I
And
mean,
at
you
the same
misunderstood what I'm
time,
saying. That's what I'm saying.
No, he's talking about the
I'm not
culture.
saying the design of Islam, these pieces teach imperialism. I'm saying the game theory model of it is imperial. There's no hadith or
but you're saying it's-
But
instruction.
I want
It's just
to
designed that way.
focus on his second cultural point because he's made 3 points. He said, but he's not.
I
They're
think
flawed.
it's better. I think it's better to understand first of all what he's trying to say. Then we
I've
slowly
understood it because I've heard it.
deduct what I haven't heard it before.
It's a bit difficult.
But yeah, no, go on. I don't.
That's okay, wait.
So
But the
we
thing
look at
is,
it,
you have
so-
to keep into consideration in the game theory model, right? You're saying the game theory model, but the game theory model doesn't necessarily correlate to reality. You know what I mean?
No, but we
Because
just
they
keep
use
measuring data and
people-
feeding it back into the model.
Right, but at the same time, it's a model that works on paper. But in reality, there are a lot of other factors that come into
There
play.
may well be,
you know
but
what
we
I mean?
see- but we
Like,
see
for
certain very
example,
strong
for example,
things.
when it comes to the Muslim identity, it takes in
So many aspects.
it manifests in many different aspects. You got the Shia, you got the Sunni, you got the differences in between. You got the Sufis, you got the Berbers.
Muslim sister
You
dress.
got
No,
the
but
Ababia.
one has a coverage, the other two haven't.
Yeah, but,
Right?
but look at me. Look at me. I'm
Yeah.
a Muslim. He's a Muslim.
Right?
He's not just
so,
like
so
that.
the way in which you're proposing,
like that.
the way in which you're proposing that Islam has an effect on Western society in game theory is not necessarily correlated
I'm
to
not
society.
trying to tell you something. I'm telling you what we've been doing for the last 20 years in organizing our political models, and that's how we successfully.
But you don't understand
I'm not
Islam.
saying you should listen to our model. I'm saying
Are you
you
willing
should
to change your
know that we're looking at
perspective?
that.
Are you willing to
Yes,
change your
you should know
perspective?
So
your-
you're helping
I'm
explain
exposing.
Being
why.
Exposing to you openly
You know, you're being
for
willful.
how we think.
Okay, that's very enlightening for me. You get what I
And
mean?
I'm telling you, so we look at this as a population game on a board,
That's very
and we can model it with game theory, and we see integration, immigration, Islam as data sets, and we're modeling them and saying, right, then we poll the people. So before the Brexit EU party
I don't think you know what
62% of people in
He's just explaining how the ultra right wing think about Islam.
something worth knowing.
So I can appreciate that, and I thank you for it because it helps me understand better how a lot of right wing theorists, politicians think about
I'm from the
Islam.
deep theory level, right? I'm on the thinking side of the game.
Yeah, I get what you mean. But, there's always,
we've done the same to
more often
Marx,
than
we've
not,
done the
there's
same to
always an
Hegel.
intellectual background behind a lot of right wing politicians.
Also, that's what we actually are very technical. We are ultra technical, right?
But do you believe that this necessarily bears positive outcomes?
The downstream metapolitical consequences is our work.
Okay.
We are the ones that we've traced the memes in, and that's the new right. So the government department, the government UK, last month,
So what, are you pro-Brexit or
trying to
Remain?
understand us and analyze it. 40% of intelligence services are looking at us.
What do you think the downfalls of this
I did as
We
well.
have goals. We have a goal that we wish to achieve politically. So to avoid a military violence. We would like peace to achieve it. You know what our goals are? We'd like to do the electorate. We are fighting a force, and let me give you the demonstration of force. I live in data. Do you know how many seats, remember, of the House of Parliament require an immigrant vote?
What do you think of Tommy?
Of the 650 seats, how many require an immigrant vote to win?
Stephen Lennon.
Of 650. 129. Now let's look at a young Muslim boy who's coming. He's as British Muslim as he
Think he should be in prison?
He's the Muslim Labour MP candidate for Boris Johnson's own constituency.
I think he's
In
a
the last
prisoner
5 years, he
of
slashed his lead by 50% by just demographics.
political prisoner.
When you look at the data model, everything that goes to 30
Does that mean
32%
it
falls
should
today.
be done for contempt of court?
So we
When
have
he
a
wasn't.
demographic
He
timeline.
wasn't in contempt of
Don't
court.
you think in the very beginning that policy was created in order to get the new immigrants to begin participating
It was done by
in
selfish
politics?
globalism. It was done with people who do not believe in
Because it's
God.
necessary, like, if there is an influx of immigration, then necessarily, if you want to look at it from a moralistic perspective, they have to be integrated within the political structure.
But they're all from Pakistan.
So I have many
So,
Muslim friends who don't
yeah,
seem to believe
when
it.
you
From
say
all the YouTube comment threads, I my sister's best friend
boyfriend
Muslim
is
all her life.
Muslim.
I've had it gone. I can
it's-
argue what's wrong
like,
with
if you look
Islam
at
and
the
have an intellectual argument just about what is.
Pakistan.
So if you wanted to
They're
control
all
it
from
in
Pakistan.
game theory, what is the win-win outcome? How do
My
Muslims
mum's
live
husband
in the
is from
in the West with
Pakistan.
peace?
He
And how
gets
does
very angry
the
when
West
I
let
mention
the
the fact
Islam
that
world live in peace?
it's not all Muslims.
That would be a win-win scenario.
Exclusively
It would be a win-win
Pakistani.
scenario, but can I interrupt just for 1 second, just to make two points?
I
First,
talk a lot, but just keep it talking.
did I interrupt you?
Yeah. It is, yeah.
So basically, first of all, I think that game theory doesn't necessarily correlate to reality. Like, if we take into consideration, for example,
Do you think it will work? A rule!
the nuclear game theory.
Hello,
right?
how are
When
you?
They propose, in theory, that if
I'm
one
with
state
Jesus,
has nuclear
always.
weapons and another state has nuclear weapons, they won't go to war with one
I
another.
will.
Yeah, you
I
get what I
will.
mean, right?
Do you know what? It's
I think it's nuclear deterrence theory.
The mutually assured destruction.
Yes.
So those 70s and 80s.
But the thing is, in reality, there's a lot of problems with that theory, right? Because there's intransparency, there's a lack of information. We can't analyze or
We couldn't until the 90s for two reasons. We couldn't, you're right. All the way in my life, I'm only until the 90s. It all changed in the 90s and late 90s. Because of two reasons. We finished the mathematics of game theory and genetic algorithms, and we had enough computer power. Before we didn't have enough computer power, even if we knew how to, and we didn't even know how to. So all the literature is rubbish.
So could you
Full
agree?
of errors, yeah.
So could you agree with me that game theory doesn't necessarily correlate to how reality is?
Game theory is emotionless. There's no emotion. It's just maths that can measure how good it was at measuring a game. Let me give you an example. There's two ways. I play speed chess every day to stay sharp. I play 1 minute games only.
Speed chess?
Yeah, 1 minute games each. 1 minute each on against the computer. And I play only up to 20 games to keep sharp. You in a game theory can say, I don't care what the game is mathematically, and I don't care what the rules or the outcome is. I can find you which algorithms match reality. If they don't, I can train them again, and I don't have to understand the a priori model. I can just say that looks like that game. So here's something you didn't know, which you love, right? If you plot the world as these agent chimps running around, there's two classes of strategies. Individualist strategies, one thing, and collectivist. Individualists will always lose to collectives, no surprise. But what are the collectives that win? Two types of collectives dominate all games. When I mean all games, I mean we breed genetic algorithms and we try to find all possible games. I don't have to do rational analysis. I can just breed all the possible games. Two clusters win. One has about 45%, one has 42. 45 is the religious, hierarchical, conservative right. Islam, Christians, the United States. The left, other one is liberal, neo, mixed hybrid, multi-group, multi-cluster, bonding together by community of need. We all want rights, we all want freedoms, we all want protection. It's a multicolored, unstructured around. And these two are the only classes of game. We are fighting globalism and neoliberalism as that's that type of game. We are also fighting Islam because Islam's just like us on the same side of the wall. Islam doesn't care for liberals.
I mean, to an extent, unless they help support our right to practice our own religion, then there is a degree of care, right?
But I mean, Islam's not liberal.
Eternally. No, Islam, yes, but
not gonna
just
open
because
up.
we're ideologically different doesn't necessarily mean we cannot coexist.
This is the liberal proposition, and our data says it breaks down its scale, not just for Islam, it breaks down the scale for multiracial society.
I want to move back to some point that you made, right? Because it seems as if you had dichotomized the world into two sets of gameplay. Correct. But my problem is, and you made this point earlier, that in game theory it doesn't take into account emotion.
Nothing, it's just breeding numbers.
It's breeding numbers, but the thing is, when it comes to humans like us, right? Emotions have a huge role
But
to
we
play
can factor all the
in way-
emotions into
in the way-
economic
in
theory.
which we act.
So like economics and just mathematics, economics, all the emotions result in your transaction. You would have thought about everything.
So you would say that you can capture emotions through an economic framework?
I say I don't care about them. They must result in behaviors.
See, the thing
Their
is,
motives to be whatever they were, you thought and felt as an eternal set of being. It manifested itself when it left you as a transaction.
see, the problem is,
I don't need to understand your behavior. I'll give you a great example. So I was the chief tech officer for ASOS before I started my startup. You know ASOS, the fashion company?
yes,
Okay,
I
they're
heard
30, they're 2 billion, 4 billion in sales, 35 ticks a second, millennials buying clothes. Non-stop global.
Non-stop, okay, but
So on
that
one
has to
Friday,
do-
we suddenly sold 125,000 leather chokes. There's no model like you're saying, I agree with you, that could have ever predicted this thing. But the machine found out what it was.
Right, but right now you're taking into consideration something that's happening in the economy, right? When it comes to buying products, but what we're talking about, right? It of course has economic aspect, but it is predominantly political. It's about immigration. It's about mobilization of people, right? And when we look at it, mobilization of people, like when they protest, when they go out against a certain system, emotions have a huge role to play in it. Because when it comes to specific political leaders,
Even the far electorate would like to manipulate.
Of course, there's always someone trying to manipulate, right? But people, they are many times submissive to their leader. And their leader, he tries to incite certain emotions within them. The emotions of anger, hope, belief, and channeling those emotions into certain objects can cause them to do certain things that are against their interest.
Yeah, but
Against
also for power as well.
for the political leaders' interest, against their
base,
physical interest. Like for example, you can see that in Iran, a lot of people, because of the way that Khomeini was able to kind of channel, distribute, and manipulate their emotions, right? They were willing to die for a revolution. They were willing to starve
soldiers,
for a
everything,
revolution. You get what I mean? My problem with game theory is that because it assumes rationality,
It doesn't have
be-
to. It doesn't. That's the beauty, it doesn't.
But the thing is, it doesn't account for
You
when
think it must do because you're coming from humanitarian. I disagree. It doesn't need to have.
humanitarian.
But it doesn't need a qualitative model.
Okay. Forget
my
that,
point.
forget that it assumes rationality, but it cannot account for those moments where the way in which people feel, their
Right.
emotions drive them into a certain
You're right.
direction.
They're not a predictor, but what they're telling us how to analyze what it is. And we're seeing, if you think of prediction as a probability distribution function, so you can always think of the future as a range of possibilities that happen. So right now, all these guys could suddenly start singing Michael Jackson. Now, statistically, the probability is not zero. It's a dot, 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 dot. So the world is the probability distribution curve. So you look at these futures and we look at our models and say, hey, it looks like, forget Islam for a second, when immigration gets density, this thing happens. When women get human rights, this thing happens. And we see Islam at a full clash with immigration. And that drives everything we do.
But the problem is when it comes to human beings, Islam, Muslims, people who label themselves
Any
as
type of
Muslim,
human, yeah.
right? Islam is only one variable, right? You have a lot of psychological, political, economic, social variables and even biological variables that play a huge role in the extent
In any one Muslim's
how
life.
someone may think and
Like the
act.
day in the life of an average Muslim.
So would you agree that in that sense, game theory is not comprehensive?
The game theory doesn't care about one individual Muslim like a market. It cares about the collection as an aggregate statistically.
Right.
Any one Muslim might be very different, and any one Muslim is subject to n-dimensional variables. But the game, the maths, the machine learning is just going, hey, look, this is fucking game. So when I said, brother, when I said I did it to Islam, we did it to Marx and Durkheim. And when you've got Durkheim and Marx, you get 14 words, 26 word ontology.
But would you say that
they show you that's what this thinking pattern is.
But would you say that there are flaws in that algorithm?
We as geeks are humble. Everything we ever write is totally wrong. And then we write it again, and then we write it again.
And again,
we never
and
stop.
you continue producing something wrong.
Constantly progressive refinement is the forest, the bean. Right?
But would you say that the future of this algorithm creation would be trying to integrate some sort of framework that can account for emotional dispositions or even
that's a very
political or psychological variables?
Well, we believe in art. So I'm a scientific realist. I'm into the philosophy of science and engineering. So I sit in the bottom left. I believe science is ontology, epistemology, a prediction and knowledge of models. I think we're limited by these models because mathematics is incomplete, measurement is incomplete, and observation is incomplete. So this consciousness we have, these stories, are always going to be as a computer scientist in a class of predictability, computability algorithms. I might be able to compute something, and some things are not computable. You can't tell me the last digit of pi, right? I mean, because it's defined as being infinite. So here's a class of
Depends on
algorithms.
the equation, it changes. Yeah.
On the raw, pure mathematics, something's a predictable computer and deterministic. So I'm dealing constantly with the unknown. I'm just saying the machines allow me to put them in buckets going, hey, so I don't know which kind might shout, I'll put and drive anything off a bridge. But I know it's not going to be a Chinese guy statistically.
Yes.
It's as likely as these guys to be Michael Jackson.
How did you know? You know the Uyghurs? The Uyghurs from China, they're most likely.
But see, I'm a Christian as well, but I'm compelled by Christ, even if I don't like it, to love every one of you. Some of you I don't want to love, not Muslims, just people. Just people, not you. Some people I just don't want to love. You know? I'm compelled by my deen to just love them. It's a fucking fatwa on me, right? But I want peace, right?
For me, it's the same thing. And I take pleasure in respecting other people when it comes to their different views and also trying to an extent to have a civilized conversation.
I'd like to
with
talk
them.
again, man. I want to talk again. I don't know, now that we have a little jet to warm yourself and stuff. Liam's got his material. Fall to wait.
But just to conclude, we agree that when it comes to these game theory algorithms, there is always room for refinement and it can produce some negative results as in comparison to some.
Better than that, we know we're constantly wrong and we're constantly error correcting. So we don't assume we're going to be judging right and wrong. We confess we're constantly wrong and improving. So today I give you a set of numbers and the guy says you're off by 2.6%. Shit, okay, tomorrow I give you another one that's 0.3, other way it's 0.7.
Could you have gotten it completely wrong that Islam is actually not that big of a threat?
The entire top level narrative could be wrong and the bottom level foundational narrative could be wrong. So
you're like
those-
Socrates, where you say, I know nothing. The only true knowledge is that you know nothing. Okay, I can appreciate that. Oh, lovely speaking to you.
Surveillance cameras all over the West Bank, all over then having itemised, tracked back the best they could through videos, CCTV, individuals who may have gone and committed a suicide bomb attack, found them 2 hours before, and then they find that they targeted these places. And in the first 3 years, their response to suicide attacks is no longer in the process of what they claim to be killing the extremists within the Palestinian movement, within Hamas, they murdered, killed 1,000 people who were lucky enough to be walking past the building, not knowing that even though it's a human further 500 attacks carried out
Hello. This is where I work now. Yep, I left that one. I work in the park now. All sunshine, all day.
Discuss how much they and denigrated journalists because of the danger the Israeli population might really know what's going on in the wide world. Well, the answer is you can read it over. Not wrong, it's not right. I don't think Muslims would be any more likely to talk about murder by killing 100,000 Iranians during the Iraqi. People in authority and responsibility are often shown to be what they are when they're challenged about what they are supposed to be meant to be talking about, or what they are secretly hiding, often because of the apathy of the people themselves. But when he found, after months of contacting people, his name was being detained and his work was being flagged, he went to the Israeli Supreme Court and demanded by law, as he checked out, that he had a right to write about what that had done, at the very least, between 1948 and 1968, under Israeli law, there is an official secret act that lasts 50 years. Beyond that, any citizen in Israel is allowed to find out about what the state did before. As a response to that clip, when that journalist went to the Supreme Court, his reward was the state of Israel extended that ban to 70 years, making it illegal for any citizen of Israel or the world to investigate Mossad's operations from 1948, the birth of the Haganah and the Stern Gang, right the way through to the bloodshed. It's not allowed, no matter how liberal or atheist you are. Underpinning, as the author says in his own words, Israel is not a democratic state to be like this country or the United States at the time. Far from it. What does the state employ when it wants to stop responsible journalists from revealing the truth? There are laws, as I've just mentioned. There is coercion. There are protocols, which you're told in such words. Do that, you might find your family not in such a well-positioned. There is intimidation and there is imprisonment. That is what faced every journalist in Israel today. They dare to release any information on Mossad or the state of Israel's activities since 1948. Most incredible thing is, when I looked at this book, the steal on the internet, I've got to get this. I went to Waterford the next day and there it was, bang, snap, in the middle of the bookstore. I couldn't believe it. So this is how the state of Israel operates, secretly, clandestinely, forever going on about the suffering of the Jewish people, but never actually debating the atrocities and the murders carried out. It's so bloody obvious. The media, even last year when we saw Palestinians being gunned down, it was doing nothing more than desperately throwing stones across the path. Israeli politicians, Mark Regev was calling these people terrorists. Would you be terrorised for a 15-year-old youth throwing a stone at you and you were clad up in a military uniform looking like Robocop? It's pathetic. Power and influence.
But if you're there, please do not try this at home, yeah? So now the issue, what we're saying is this, yeah? Is that we believe that you need to tie your camel. You need to put the effort and then put your trust in Allah. So what that means is, so for example, let's say Jacob, yeah? If one day you accept Islam, inshallah, yeah? Say inshallah, brothers. Yeah, and you want to get married, yeah? I would say, Jacob, look, yeah, you're a handsome man, yeah? I'm sure it's not going to be hard, but the thing is, you need to go. I would say to you, look at avenues. Go on a halal marriage website, a Muslim one. Go and ask your Muslim. What you're doing is efforts. You're putting efforts in place, and then you're putting your trust in. Sister, your coffee's coming. Don't go anywhere. Yeah, we've got coffee. So that's why. So you need to put your trust in. Put the efforts and put your trust in God. Now, I want to use some arguments and see if you will relate with it. Yeah.
Go ahead. I agree with you, by the way. There's no good sitting on your arse all day.
Yeah. So now, you said, for example, that looking around us in the trees and the universe and the sun and the solar system, that is not some kind of a miracle. Can I ask, why do you think that it's not a miracle? So, for example, do you not believe, like, for example, the way, and I'm not using fine tuning, I'm just saying, for example, do you not see it as some kind of like a miracle? The fact of, for example, how, you know, when between couples intercourse happens and that sperm, yes, the semen, that semen has its some kind of rationality, some kind of consciousness, awareness that it knows where to go. And for example, goes to the mother's
I wouldn't
egg.
call it consciousness, but yes, sure.
Okay, so the question I need to ask is, how is it that the way we're designed, male and female, the organs, yeah, for example, when they meet in marriage, hopefully, and then, for example, that whole process of the ejaculation, and that whole process of the sperm swimming to the egg, and from the egg, it takes time to grow, and then, for example, the mother to give birth, obviously there has to be some kind of liquid that has to come out from that part, otherwise, do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yes,
and then the baby's born, and then mother's breast at the milk. So, like, all of this, do you believe this is some kind of a coincidence? I know some people might watch this and be like, oh, come on, man, are you trying to tell me? But I'm just trying to understand where you're coming from and what you define as a miracle, or, you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, so a miracle, and this is embarrassing because I can't remember who said it. I think it might have been David Hume.
Don't worry, I forget a lot of
Who
things.
said, who said a miracle or a sort of argument from testimony, I'll come back to your teleological point there, you know, would have to be such where, like a sort of testimony from someone, right, you know, it would have to be, the circumstances by which their testimony would not be true would have to be even more miraculous than if their argument, you know, their miraculous experience were actually true. So they're, this is really hard to say, I'm not quite incoherent, but like the kind of the circumstances which were non-miraculous, you know, the chances of them happening would have to be so small that for it to have been otherwise, for it to have been not a miracle, that in itself would have been a miracle. That, in my definition, that's a really bad definition.
For something, okay, so let's say the chance of the universe coming from nothing has to be so profound that is that some kind of a miracle that needs a miracle?
So, okay, you know what? Let me. If I talk to you again, I'll have a better definition for you. Okay, shall I come back to the?
No problem. Let's do this.
Okay, where do you want to go?
Let me give you an example. Now, how do you know my watch is designed?
Oh, okay. Well, because I've seen many other watches before, and I know from sort of empiricism that, you know, watches need a human designer.
Okay. Have you gone and seen my watch get designed?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So then, can I say from the get-go, you believe that my watch is designed, even though you have not gone and seen it get designed yourself?
Your watch, personally? No. Yes, you can say that.
Okay, but let's say all the other watches, have you gone to the factory yourself and seen it?
No, of course not.
Okay, so then can I say that you have belief that my watch is designed because you did not go to the factory and see it? So now, if you have
belief but not faith.
Same thing, can we say
No, it's not the same thing.
Okay, explain.
So faith, this is perhaps a more atheistic definition, but I think it is at least one definition, is faith is the belief without evidence. So belief can actually have evidence. You know, you believe something because it's supported, whereas faith would be purely... Faith is in epistemological conversation, it's not even blind faith, but faith as an area, or I think it's a way of knowing in theory of knowledge or epistemology, is a bit like intuition. It's a sort of knowledge without any kind of evidence that's grounded in metaphysical reality or naturalism.
Okay, no, you're right, I accept that. Sure. Okay, belief has some kind of evidence. Okay, so then, what I would need to say is this, yeah? You believe that this watch has a purpose?
Yes. Okay, yes.
I can't stand that because of the disrespect. But Ralph, the reason why I can't do that, I can't touch your hand, is because I'll be honest with you. If you stop disrespecting the Prophet, then I can do that. But anyone who disrespects...
You don't have to do that.
No, I'm just saying.
And like we stay in our world.
Can I say something?
You're on the road to superstar and stuff.
All right.
So Ralph, my issue with you was pretty much,
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome aboard.
my issue with you was basically you've been obviously debating online about Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs.
I just want to bring up. He keeps talking about me online.
Go on. Finish your thing and then I'll
it kind of ties into this topic. So basically, you go on a real and you show pretty much every night, to spread propaganda and lies.
To spread our right-wing message, which you call propaganda lies.
Which you've already openly admitted.
That's what we do, man. Hail Boris. Hail Boris.
You will spread mistruths to suit your agenda.
Our agenda.
Exactly. So you're continuously talking about me. Someone who's just...
You come up a lot.
Yeah, I come up a lot.
I don't personally. I mean, you do come up. I like to mock you.
And I'm a guy with less than 50 subscribers on YouTube. Less than 600 followers on... Hold on.
Just what's your name, just out of interest on YouTube, so people...
Lister's the channel on YouTube, and at Mark Lister 3K, Mark with a C on Twitter, if you want to follow me on Twitter. But you keep talking about me, and you don't give me a chance to reply. Well, you do give me a little bit of a chance to reply, but it gets lost in the conversation.
So many people shouting at but here's your chance, Lister.
So you continuously... Okay, so here's one thing that you continuously blame me for when I'm not there. You blame me specifically for grooming gangs.
Blame you for grooming, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So you agree with my characterization.
You're culpable.
Yet there is a story that you told where you were having a chat with a Muslim and he invited you to his house to have a go
some place.
it's a location to have a go on this groomed woman that
Well, it's not how it's happening, yeah.
And you use this as a story to be like, hey, Muslims tell me things because
no, that just came up anecdotally. I don't use that in any repeated form or anything. I use ONS data statistics.
Did you do anything to protect this woman or any of the women?
I spoke to other people I knew about.
Okay, what happened?
I'd rather, that's not something we should be discussing. That's a disservice to both
Did you
sides.
inform the police?
Not the police.
Why did you inform the police?
Because the other people, they work in different communities. The police is not the way to a tight-knit Bangladeshi community. Tight-knit Bangladeshi community.
Do you know if the police were
But again,
eventually
I don't think this is a story we should be discussing.
Why?
Well,
You brought it up.
If you knew about something,
we
you
shouldn't
should
be
have
discussing
avoided
it.
it.
Why
I
do you bring it up online?
I don't discuss it. It's real people involved. That's all. I have no problem. I think it does both sides a disservice.
No,
It's already happened, right?
No,
But
but
you're
you're complicit.
Happy to
Surely, is
talk
that what you're
about it.
getting?
Yeah, you're blaming me.
I'm happy to talk about
You're
it.
blaming
Yeah,
me.
I'm not saying I
for
won't.
So you
girls
were
getting
complicit.
raped.
When
When you knew the crime and you didn't inform the police.
You said that you did it.
No, I never said that.
Okay, I thought you said you did.
I said to go to the police.
So it's like it's family. So it's like the Muslim Ummah where they
Muslims have a very strong family unit.
Yeah, you have a thing against Muslims and their
I have no
brotherhood
such thing against
where
Muslims.
they
I'm
don't-
compelled by
they're-
Christ to
they're
love
not-
every Muslim.
They're not supposed to
nonsense.
tell the police on each other. This is exactly what you've just said. You've done because it's in the family, and you're not telling the police on each other. So what is different to you about the people that you claim that are so against Western values? What is different to you and the people that you claim to hate and not want to?
So if I understand you correctly, what you're trying to do is frame a moral equivalence question. You accuse one society pattern of doing something you're doing is not equivalent. Well, it's wrong for two reasons. One, in this case, I did something. I didn't do the thing you think I should do. Well, hang on,
did the guy face justice?
I did something, right? That was, I think, more effective than what I could have done as a race. I could have shot him in the
What
head.
did you do?
Just give me a second, just to argue this argument. So then we say there's a moral equivalency. No, what is the pattern that's morally equivalent? That I have not done something? No, it's not that pattern. And that's my
did you do
pattern.
so we can
I'll go to that in a second, just sort of framing it nicely. We in the right, order, hierarchy, and power, we like to frame things. So framing is in there. Yeah, there's no moral equivalency because the pattern for grooming gangs, what you want to talk about, is not the pattern for what I did. So you're not thinking it
So it's
clearly.
okay for you to stick up for family and not tell the police, but it's not okay for Muslims to do so. That's what you're saying.
No, because I don't know how well you understand logic. It's not. That would be true if I did
You're
nothing.
giving yourself an exception out of a rule.
No, not me. Nothing to do with me. The exception is I did something. If I'd
What
not
did
done
you do?
something,
What did you do?
I went to the family. Because I knew the people who stopped were the family. The family is going to stop it.
So you
The
did
police are not going to go into these
So the guy
communities.
didn't face justice.
You boys are Muslim boys.
Did the family stop it?
It's not happening. That boy,
But
the only one I knew, who I've seen for 4 or 5 years growing up, that boy is not in
But
that
he
group
didn't.
anymore.
But he didn't receive justice. See, you class You classed yourself as a servant of Her Majesty's kingdom.
I really am.
And you didn't ensure that this man faced justice for
I did
his
what
crime.
I think is responsible. I don't know what happened to him.
Well, you should have told the police. Do you not think? If
Yeah,
you're
that's
aware of a
the
crime,
point.
you should. Otherwise, you are
Thank you
complicit.
for input. At the end of that matter, I'm not compelled by law, but thank you for input. It's at the end of that point. I thought we wanted to talk about something more than...
If the police heard about this story,
I think we get the point.
they would question you and say, why didn't you come to the police? And you would,
Her Majesty's police are willing to
might be
call me up.
When was this
there might be a
incident?
charge
When
of
was
being
this
complicit
incident?
in
Yeah, when was this? So are you going to go to the police? And
Well, even if I did, it's not. I don't give you the right to ask me what and tell me what
I
to
don't
do.
need the right. I'm just
No, I'm actually telling you, I'm not giving you the right. It's a very nice way. You can ask me nicely, right? But you're not going to tell me what to do.
If we try and tie this
One great thing about the far right is we don't negotiate. So we're carrying on. So that point's over. I think we want to talk about something
just to
nice.
tie
I'll
it
let you finish.
Because you have to hurry it up, you're going to get bored very quickly.
I think you're stuck. That's more like he's got you. You're a bit stuck, and you're using boredom as an excuse.
It's just a bit more forward.
So,
After a while,
I see some sweat. I see some sweat.
that's just my beauty. You're going to run your fingers in my skin. That happens all the time. It's humility. So anyway, grooming gangs. Which one do you want to talk about?
Do you want to finish
You guys
the
should
point?
take
I want to get on to Muslim. The Muslim grooming gang. I want to know. So why do you constantly frame it online as a Muslim?
Because the majority of people doing
How
are
many times
Muslim.
have you people?
This is
What's
Jupiter.
you people? I'm having a normal conversation. I'm not saying you people. I don't call you people. I don't want to divide people. I want to get to the crux of the issue. Why do you call it a Muslim?
Because if I took 10 people and I worked out where they came from, it looks like 80 point something are Muslim.
Okay. So
If they were Chinese, I call them Chinese grooming gang. But they're Muslim grooming gangs.
But no. That's a country. Yeah, exactly. You're false equivalents. Supposed to a country and a religion. So in terms of Muslim, this is the question. This is the question.
Buddhists are doing it, I'll call it Buddhism.
I'll give you some facts in a minute. But here's the question. Muslims, as you know, aren't allowed to be in the same room as a woman. They're not allowed to alcohol. They're not sex allowed. They're not allowed sex before marriage. They're not allowed sex before marriage.
It doesn't stop them though.
But you always avoid. So they're not. So you're always avoiding this question. So I want to know your answer to that.
Okay, so this is what's called in logic the knacks-out fallacy. You're saying not all exes are like that.
No, that's
You're
not
saying
what I'm
not all Muslims are
No,
like that.
that's not what I'm saying.
Hang on a second.
No, you misrepresent me. You misrepresent me. I'm saying from the core of our religion, you're not allowed to do it.
You're
saying they're not following Islam, so why are you connecting it to Islam?
I really understood the question. And
Because
I'm
of the
asking you if
various
it's a time
cases
to
where
answer.
Islam's been quoted as being part of the crime. But in
One
one
case.
It wasn't one case.
It was one case.
No, it wasn't.
It was one case.
No, it wasn't.
All right, how many cases?
At least 3 or 4.
3 or 4. Go on, name them.
Right, I know 2 off by heart. The other 2 I wouldn't know the intimate
Tell us the 2
detail.
of one.
First 2, one, they stamped M on the back side. Right? I don't know the actual name. You can look it up. I can bring it up online tonight. I'm not bothered about that.
Anyway, going back to
Right? And the other one, everybody knows it. You can't deny it. Everybody knows it.
Anyway, let's finish our conversation. So how is this
you can
a
answer
Muslim?
the question.
Yeah, go on.
So if I'm a computer scientist, so if I get a piece of data to measure, if I measured the heights of everyone here, I measured their shoe sizes, and I measured whether they had men or women, I would get a set of data points, and then I would use the ones that are statistically significant. I look at the Muslim grooming gangs, what sticks out number 1, go Google images, type it in, they're Muslim. No, but let's say, that's a visual for it. This is the left, they're trying to go, so the left are being right.
No, but you just call yourself a statistician.
No, just trying to answer this.
You type it in grooming ground.
Do you want me to answer this
using
point?
that as like a.
But do you want me to answer this point or humour you for a sentence? I'm going to humour you for a sentence and then return to the point.
Did you never interrupt?
My position, by the way, isn't that we haven't got a problem within our community. My position is.
So I haven't finished to get my point. So for the last 20 sentences, none of you have let me finish.
Okay,
Sorry, no, you're right.
You haven't yet. I just
Finish.
So if you now look at the data set, so I said around here they're grooming gang members, and they happen to be the number one thing. They happen to be tall. I will label them as tall grooming gang members. The number one data point for all the cases they are Muslim. Am I saying these people are practicing the deen of Islam? No, I'm not. Am I saying all Muslims are gang rapers? No, I'm not. I'm saying all the gang rapers, almost all, are Muslims.
So you know.
Do you disagree with that statement?
You know. This is
Because statistically, if they were tall, I said that's what I said. They were tall. I said it was tall people doing it.
You know words have power, right? And the way it's framed as a Muslim, that's very, very specific.
Correct.
And you knew that on purpose.
Oh, we're doing it deliberately too.
You are doing it deliberately.
No, because we're in a war with Islam.
They're doing it deliberately.
Because we're not part of the war
Thank
with
you. I'm
Islam.
glad you've admitted you're doing it.
Absolutely, it's one of the things that's fueling our meta-narrative.
So you're using it to manipulate impressionable,
to drive up support
stupid
for
people,
opposition.
or people who are
You don't need to insult them. They're people with very intelligent
There's a lot of
people.
stupid people.
How do you solve
I'm
the
saying,
problem?
so we
You
know
have to
that it's not.
identify what the
So
problem is.
you've acknowledged that it's not a Muslim problem.
No, I haven't said
You've
that. I
acknowledged
think
it's
a
not.
Muslim
Right,
problem.
okay.
No, I've
okay,
acknowledged that, but we're using it like Goebbels would for propaganda.
So Goebbels, who was Goebbels? A
The
Nazi.
Hitler's
So
no,
you're using it like a Nazi.
Yeah, just like a mullah would
Goebbels
do.
was a very
Just like a
disgusting
mullah,
man that
just like the head of Iran would do.
So you guys are equating yourself to Goebbels. Wow.
Correct. We are to war with Islam, in which I like to find peace.
I
like that peace
You're
on war with Islam.
misrepresenting Muslims. Well, you just said that. You said.
You see, you keep talking and you're telling me, but he said, and I can't speak.
It's not to do with
I don't
Islam.
mind. You look silly doing it.
No. You said it. It's not to do with Islam, but you want to use it as just
it's
because.
So again, you say it's like cacophony of the
I just want to add to
Cabal
this
of the
point.
left, right?
At the beginning of our chat, I specifically asked you, will you lie about other people's positions?
Will we use information to win our war? Hell yeah.
So you mean like you do?
So that's what you call misrepresentation. We call it
Like you
narrative
do.
writing.
Nothing you say at the moment, anytime, ever, can ever be taken seriously.
It's
Like
not
you.
unless you're
Like
intelligent
you.
enough.
Because he's admitted he tells lies.
That's a silly little childish logic.
He didn't admit that he told
But this
lies.
is either you don't understand the logic.
Oh, you mean?
Okay, when you finish,
I
when
thought
you see
you were
all this
referring
happening,
to
you're
what you just
babbling,
said.
and you're not listening.
Stop.
And all your, if I wrote your words
just
down,
admit,
all you go, you're starting right now. But look again, you go again.
I think you buried yourself. The world has seen it.
But again, you see, you can't. It's weak impulse control, unintegrated, right? Unintegrated. So what I'm saying is, no. What you're saying is you have these positional statements about me. I'm telling you what I think. Yes, we in the right, but we in the right will use every piece of information, message, story to win a war. You should be talking. Why would we enter a war we thought was wrong?
Okay, so does that mean that you're willing to misrepresent the other side to win the war?
We believe we're morally right.
It's a direct question.
Absolutely.
So you're willing to misrepresent?
I would string you up in a prison and desensitize you if I had power. Yeah. I wouldn't. But no, metaphorically, I'd be ruthless in implementing a Christian empire.
But doesn't Islam itself practice that?
What's that?
Well, they say that you can use taqiyya to tell lies toward the religion.
That's
a concept
within a certain group, which are the Shia Muslims, which
but
are
it does
very,
exist.
it does exist, yeah. But the majority of Muslims,
So
most Muslims that you see,
it's not really
that.
Yeah, but Sarah, an intelligent discussion would be of these oppositional views, understanding our right. Better now that you guys have kind of got a little bit of it out, right? Is how do you see our worldview of you? How do you see your view of us? And is it peace or war?
I try to understand it. I don't
prefer
see
jihadi boys.
No.
I don't like those guys in the middle.
I don't see the world as blanket. I see it as black and white. I think there's a lot of nuances in between. You know, I don't like blanket guilt. I think that's the danger.
But who's but I repeat that I'm saying the Laxal fallacy.
You say Muslim grooming gangs.
You do it with the left. You say that the left-wing ideology blames grooming gangs.
So
you're not.
It is
You're
partially.
consider going to the police when you know.
No,
It is partially responsible.
But he's looking for some hypocrisy argument, but they're not arguing to me.
And I'll tell you
right?
how it's partially
So-
responsible. Because the PC culture got so bad that people were not getting justice based on the colour of their skin because the police didn't want to be seen as racist.
So what was the reason? What is the reason that the Christian police got
Boris
and it was like swept under the carpet and it was a cover-up. Was that based on the Kennedy scheme?
No, that was due to internal corruption.
Okay, internal corruption.
Where they wanted to save the face of they wanted to save the face of the church.
Okay, and what about the football coaching grooming scandal? Was that based on the colour of their skin that it was covered up?
No, that was based on the fact that it was covered up. That again was
It's not colour of the skin.
face because of the institution.
So why is it different for them?
Because the police officers themselves have been quoted as saying, and because our government is on record that they told them not to enforce it.
But can't you use the same argument that you're using for the others to say it's to save face, to say to blame it on, but you're just like, but why would it?
Because the police officers themselves are giving you the reason why they didn't act.
Okay, but you're not listening. So maybe they said that to discredit the whole identity politics, left wing.
Why would they want to do that?
Because there's a lot of right-wing people up high in higher positions that want to discredit. How is that
The
not
whole
true?
system has been totally infested with on the left.
There's loads of left-wing people are generally socialists and communists, not rich people. Rich people, capitalists and billionaires.
And you're wrong about that.
But he denies it. He's an apologist for the grooming gang. The people of Britain must know that Lister is a grooming gang apologist.
Mate, you didn't even tell the police about one that you knew of.
I thought that would make you say that.
Every time you say it, I'm going to bring that up.
I know,
so
but it's like
well
pushing a button.
Because every
I
time
like
you
to
say
push it.
it,
But that way I can control when you jump up and down.
There was a
I can
girl
say
being groomed
jump.
and you didn't do a thing about
Can you
it
see if I can
to get
push
the
that
guy
button?
to face justice.
Tell us again.
That's how much you care about
That's
grooming
not what I
gangs.
did say.
That's exactly what
You
just
were
said.
there with
That's
Dan, that's
exactly,
not what happened.
Yeah,
exactly
that's
what he
not
just said today. He didn't tell the police. This
I-
guy's
He
evaded
said he
justice.
overheard two people discussing
The guy
Your lack of
Bengali.
grasp of English language, fantastic. Evaded. Evaded is a good word. It's okay, Lister. What did you want to really talk about, though? I thought you said you had something to talk about, but this was it first. So there must be something else, like your primary.
I've got to go to work.
It's going to work.
That's wait for online. It's just your arguments. Like, I'll give you an example. You live in Stepney.
Yeah,
so
Caliphate.
you said something about they block voting this MP in. But like, if you go back through history of the MPs, it's a Labour safe seat where they've consistently won between like 80% and 40% of the vote share. So of course, this woman who's doing a good job is going to get more and more votes as she does this good job. There's no block
So there's
voting
no
there.
correlation that all the Muslims voted for. You tell me I should ignore that statistical factor.
But you go back through,
That's nuts.
you go back through history. I showed you. We looked at the population. We said that even if you took out all the Muslims, like the 60% of Muslims or whatever,
Right, if you
then
replace it with someone else.
she'd still win with all the white vote because the Conservatives
So what you're
and
trying
the
to
Dems
say-
are so unpopular
I get what
in
you're
that-
trying to say is that the
Not
policies
anymore. Not anymore.
You're saying, no, but you're saying the policies go over Islam and race, and I'm saying no, they don't. I live there.
No, but you're a statistician, and you're basing your you're basing your conclusions on 3 years of data. When I just scrolled down the exact same page you did and went back through the years and realised that it's a Labour safe seat, your conclusions don't fit the whole data.
And you don't,
Like,
yes,
you're just
hold
making
on,
up
hold
wild
on.
conclusions.
No,
There's another
no,
one.
because I can debate that, right? Because the fact of the matter is,
you've not seen
in
the
it doesn't matter. Where he lives is high in minorities, right? That's a progressive change from people. Now, Labour used to represent white working class. It doesn't anymore. So, if you're talking about an area, hold on. If you're talking about an area which is now mainly minorities, Labour. If you're talking about before they moved in, generally white working class, Labour. So your argument doesn't fit. Because the reason is what the people were. Do you understand? Yes.
Hold on. The population change throughout the years that I looked through would have been marginal compared to the
What's
variety.
marginal? Is he having a laugh?
Compared to the
having a
variety,
laugh?
compared to the range of difference in the vote share that Labour got, because some years they got 40.
So what the
some years
left
they
like
got
to do,
17,
what you're doing
then they
is
went back to getting 40 again.
you're doing
And they were still winning.
statistical skullduggery You're trying to play around with this variable with that, that with that, that with that. No. Do you know how many seats require an ethnic minority vote on the 650 seats?
Huh?
Do you know how many seats in power require an ethnic vote in Parliament?
Ethnic minorities are underrepresented in.
No, that's not my question. My question is, of the 650 seats in power, how many require an ethnic person to vote to win? Do you know how many seats? Yeah. I mean, is that a really difficult question to understand? How many brownies and blackies have to vote to get a seat?
I mean, it's a very specific question.
Yeah. Do you know?
I obviously don't know the answer.
The answer is 130. Now, that's projected to grow with mass immigration to 200. Sorry.
I don't follow him, there's no point. No point in following him, would you make it worse? Laughing anyway.
So that was the woman I was literally just talking to.
She's by the side of you.
What was your conversation, what you're having then, just about Labour?
No, actually, I was walking through the park. I come here. Someone. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's pretty. If you've got like how many people, hundreds of people here debating pretty polarising topics, it's going to be a few. It's just human nature.
Never really liked it.
Fight, man. Why did you hit me? He has the right to defend himself, man.
And God didn't hit him.
People didn't get pushed out.
MOD's the guardian angel, yeah, mad thing.
Where's she? No. Wait. Why did you hit me? No.
That's fine. Stay back. Stay back. I know. I get your point. Don't get yourself in trouble.
Stop chasing her.
Stop chasing her. She fucking assaulted me first and then my husband.
Deal with him.
Yeah, don't have it, man.
You're all hyped up.
No, she ain't going nowhere. She ain't going nowhere.
I'm never here when you want.
No. Just give it. Look, just have some space. No, we don't.
Leave it. Just try to calm the situation. I know.
But I need the police here.
I'm just saying, just calm the situation, my brother. Wait, let's make it very. I know you don't want to. I apologize.
No, Dean, what's going on? Ain't going nowhere. What's the problem now? I need the police here. Who? Why?
She assaulted him.
Why?
Get the fucking police.
Why? Why? What's going on? Excuse me. That's related with you? Why? What happened though? Why? Related with you? That was me. Related with you? What reason though?
That's what I'm saying.
What reason though?
Because she's fucking...
She's crazy. She hasn't done that to no one else. So they must... Exactly. So they were arguing about I'm not going to touch it. I need to know why she happened. So what's the No. Excuse me. I ain't got time for this. Hold on. Don't tell me why you hate me. Take her over there.
The citizen's arrest. She ain't going nowhere.
Hey, boxer! Hey, boxer! Hey, boxer in that thing!
شقة شعرها والله حديد like this much of face.
Camera people are just like,
One woman against one man, three women.
Why they want to win?
From last week, this girl is troublesome here. From last week, this girl looking for trouble.
Yeah, but it's every week with her. She's like that. For some reason, she's like it.
Behind that door, no.
She got inside the bus.
She's busy to get on the bus.
They making. Have you noticed that they're making a radar and road?
Yeah, and there's no fucking police. Give me the phone. I want the police there
I just
now.
took it a bit. I don't know. It just escalated. I just saw it. I was trying to stop it, man.
What's box off? What was it, babe?
Hey, she's
Hey!
Huh? You're speaking to the woman who's been assaulted. I've got blood pouring out of the place.
Seen the online chats. She get on the bus.
It's all film.
This is the thing, but people watch for entertainment. They won't stop it, man. Like, these are people. You know what I mean? People are volatile.
No, I should be fine.
These guys, man, they just want to run.
Yeah, we've got footage. We've got footage.
Police are there anyway. You have to separate, like, you know, people watch it. They'd rather see people fight. Mr. Cat fight.
People running.
They want to know. They don't. I can only do
The only best person was you.
All the rest that's what we do the team for now.
They're all both hyped up. She's got issues.
But I'm saying that's a kid, isn't it?
She's got issues. She's got issues.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
she's got mental health problems.
She's got mental health issues. Like
the one she's with is a mental health sufferer. You know about what his job was.
Yeah.
She's gone or is coming. If she's coming back, she's going to get more rubbish, isn't it?
Rashma, you alright?
Zaidi Jabala.
No, don't do anything. No. Listen, Rashma, wait, that's your promise.
Don't go into the crowd.
This man in his head. That man with white wife. She ain't top of his class. The man come back again. And the woman take this you out bust it.
Was it you that caused it?
Huh? Unfortunately, I'm there, fam.
He's the laugh for this.
Steve, it's about time you got back. It's about time you got banned, Steve, for that fighting you keep doing in the fight.
Right, listen.
It's about time you got banned.
It's Steve.
Do you know? Do you know my son? Can I talk?
Yeah.
My son got up this morning and he comes knocking on the bedroom door saying, "Dad, you won't believe what? You won't believe what?" And he's fucking talking about you. He's not my son anymore.
He's not your son. He's sold you.
Let's go.
He's talking about your sad little escapades in Leicester
Your
Square.
son was imagining him that night.
It's because I'm famous now. I'm worldwide.
No,
I'm
you're
international.
not.
Yeah, John Cena, KSI, Logan Paul liked my video.
In your book, is any publicity good publicity?
Yeah.
However
In
shit
Modine
it
world
might
it
be.
is. I just want to.
Come on, look.
Take a picture for your son. Take a picture of your son. You know someone famous. Give him the autograph. Come on, man. Out here.
Thing is, they gave you the time of day. John Cena
he
was
forced his
sensible
time
enough
of day.
not to. Well, exactly.
I'm just famous, bro.
No, you're not. You're a wannabe.
I'm too good to come here.
You're too good to come here.
I'm on another level, Steve.
You dream.
What have you got to say about that Christian violence?
What, Christian? I didn't see any. All I saw was about 200 men chasing 2 women over there. That's all I saw. How sad is that?
Where were you to help? I saw that.
What 2 women?
I saw that.
One woman and her boyfriend, be fair.
Bloody atheist.
I have no idea who it was.
She's identified herself as a Christian. What do you say? And she went bam, and she went boop with her shoe and all
Why
kind of
did she
things.
do that?
Oh, now it's why? Now you want to know the reason now?
I'm coming here first.
Why are you asking an atheist about a Christian?
No, I'm just saying.
Exactly.
If it was a Muslim,
Well said.
if it was a Muslim, then we wouldn't be talking about why this, why that.
How do you call them? A savage monkey?
Sunni.
No, did you see that?
Yeah.
Right, I had that. Pirate video.
What's she trying to do? Take eyes out, yeah?
Bro, she was going mental.
That's been uploaded on my channel first. You can see it on your channel on copyright strike. My turn. Yeah.
So, listen, I'm dealing with somebody. I'm going to ask you some personal details that do not want you filming it. Alright?
Hey, don't point at me, fam. Don't point at me, fam. Take it, fam. Don't snitch him. Snitches get stitches. I always do that. When they get caught for something, they be like, what about C.O.E? Funny stuff. C.O.E get caught, ain't telling them nobody. Let's see what going on 9 o'clock. When I haiku in the building. Yeah.
And that's the reason why the Chinese will never allow
long term, Hong Kong to operate whatever it likes. Now, one man, one vote.
I think I'll be over today. I think I'll be over. Swimming fine. Cat fine.
So if there were nothing, right, then absolute nothing, nothing includes no laws. There's no laws of physics. Yes, no, that's fine. That's fine. But we'll just assume, okay.
I did! For the gospel's sake, my dear friend, and sometimes the penis for you to appear at the horizon, for you to acknowledge that He is the only way to God, for you to acknowledge that alone in Him is salvation. My dear friend, today we invite you, as Jesus said, come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden. My friends, let there be peace in your midst. My dear friends, let there be peace among you. God is a God of peace. You see that Jesus loved His enemies. Jesus prayed for His enemies. Jesus begged the Father, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. When they were driving the nails through His hands.
There's no laws.
No God.
We'll take a quick look now. See if anything will go on.
Holy Hadith. Holy Hadith.
Coming up with half in his life. Hey, this guy.